So, Mary, it was a busy day, huh?
It was. I've learned a lot. It was a great day.
Okay. So let's go back. Remember we said at the beginning I would spend some time watching you with Miss Rod. Can you tell me, how did you think that session went?
I actually thought it went well. Thinking back to what my goal was for today was to really focus on what questions were important. And I think I got to the majority of what was important. I mean, I couldn't think of anything else to ask.
So are there some things that you would think that if you could do it again, you might have done it a little different?
Well, I guess I could have followed up on a few things a little more. So, for instance, when he was talking about the last time they were in the hospital, I thought after I left the room that I should have asked more details about, what they did for him there and how he's feeling about that right now.
Yes.
And I didn't do that.
Okay. And I think, one of the things that I observed when I was watching is you started with a nice open-ended question. However, then the following questions were really pretty direct, sort of like you were going through a list, and particularly regarding his chest pain. They were sort of yes/no questions. Did you notice any of that?
I did. I was feeling like I needed to ask all of the questions, and I was a little bit concerned about veering off from that goal. I didn't feel like I was maybe connecting as much as I usually do, and I was also feeling like I was the one asking all the questions. So it didn't feel like such a great encounter from that perspective, but I did think I asked good questions.
So I'm wondering if perhaps your follow-up question from that first open-ended question was something as simple as, tell me about being in the hospital, whether you would have been able to, in fact, gotten more information.
Yes. Yes. I probably should have done that.
So let's look about, what might be goals for the next time. First off, am I correct in saying that you have the right information? You'd like to do it in a way that actually draws the patient out more, so the patient has more time to tell their own story?
Absolutely. And and I do want to make the patient feel like I'm interested in what they have to say. I know that's important.
It also, when you ask those closed-ended questions, there's information that gets lost because the narrative gets closed down. I left the room somewhat wondering if maybe there might have been some other things that were causing Mr. Arad's issues that he didn't bring up because of how narrowly focused the questions were. So let's think about it. So you feel comfortable that's sort of a good assessment of how that encounter went?
I can absolutely understand what you're saying. Yes. I mean, the last piece about being narrow, I can see that I definitely walked in with an idea of everything I wanted to hear about, and I probably restricted the conversation to those things.
So let's come up with a plan for when you come back next time.
Sure.
Okay. So what would be your goal for the next time you're here with us?
So I would actually extend my goal from today, that my goal would be to actually ask, gather the appropriate information and do that in a more open-ended manner.
And what things do you think you will help you in achieving that?
I think part of what got in my way today was that because I was set on this goal of the right information, I walked in with a pretty good idea about, what I thought the differential could be. And I didn't really leave much room for Mr. Arad to actually add in some other things that might make me rethink that. So number one, I think, is to be a little bit more open to actually hearing what he's saying, and then using more open-ended questions as you suggested.
May I also, because it's hard, you get nervous when you go in, right?
I do.
You feel that pressure. Yeah. And I know I'm standing right behind you, so that doesn't help. So maybe if you write down 2 or 3 open-ended questions that really would fit most things, then that would keep the conversation going before you narrow down. So you could write it on an index card, or you always take your notes, so you could write those 2 or 3 open-ended questions. Something simple like, so tell me more about, and that would fit any situation. How would you know that you actually are doing better?
I think the first thing is to see whether or not my patient is then telling me more of their story versus just really answering my question, which I can definitely see how that was happening here today. And the second thing is that hopefully I can ask you to observe.
Yeah, and I am happy to do it, but I want you to know if I'm not here next time, my partner, Dr. Korsak, could certainly do the same thing. Let's just start at the beginning, tell him what you're working on, and give him that feedback that we've been working on, and take off from there.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
There's actually a couple of other resources that maybe would be helpful. There's some videos that you can look at. Some of who's your clinical skills director?
Dr. Martinez.
So maybe Dr. Martinez can give you maybe a video to watch that might help you.
Okay.
Right.
So I can definitely reach out to her.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank
We're looking forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.